just how good has Oliver Ekman-Larsson been for the Vancouver Canucks so far? It's only been a 10-game sample size. I know it can get a lot better or a lot worse really quickly, and you shouldn't go out there trying to say that 10 games worth of a performance is going to define an entire player's tenure on his contract, especially when you have one that is as freaking long as Oliver Ekman-Larsson's is. But so far, I'll say this right here. When Oliver Ekman-Larsson was acquired by the Vancouver Canucks in what was ultimately the Connor Garland, Jay Beagle, Antoine Roussel, Louis Eriksson, 9th overall Dylan Guenther trade, a lot of people saw OEL as the de facto worst asset of the bunch. Not because Eriksson and Beagle and Roussel were all significantly better than him, but because they all expired sooner. Oliver Ekman-Larsson, for the amount of money that he was making, which is a total of $8.2-something million, reduced to $7.26 on the Vancouver Canucks cap hit AAV-wise till 2027, was seen as a massive overpayment. This contract was given to him at the start of the 2018 summer, so July 2018, where he was a few points removed from being a 55-point defenseman, and who, in that time frame, was in his mid-20s. So this was a long-term deal for a big amount of cash for a guy that a lot of people said, okay, is he really going to be able to be that 50-plus point guy year in and year out for the rest of his career, let alone for 8 years? And unfortunately, as the Coyotes went through time and as Oliver Ekman-Larsson played more seasons with the team, the whole entire organization just kind of went under siege. You had picks getting taken away, you had prospects getting renounced, you had players that were stars getting traded away too, and Ekman-Larsson was just kind of caught in the middle of all of this with a huge contract as one of the most overpaid defensemen in the league, who was producing at half a point a game and who wasn't really having the best advanced analytics either. His statistical profile was just bad. He was playing on a bad team, he was declining himself, and so to get rid of that contract, the Coyotes attached it to the Beagle-Roussel-Connor Garland deal. And so a lot of Canucks fans heading into the 2021-2022 campaign were saying to themselves, okay, we are absolutely screwed here when it comes to the money. We just had to wait one more year to get rid of Beagle, Roussel, and Eriksson, but instead, because Benning sees value in Ekman-Larsson, we have this guy now until 2026. He's going to be making 7 point whatever it is against our cap till he's 36 years old, and this season he already had such a bad statistical profile. What in the world are we going to be in here for, Vancouver? And Benning, to his credit, said the entire time that he feels that Ekman-Larsson is going to be a positive contributor to this team. He will make the team better. He is an upgrade over what we had last season. And a lot of Canucks fans were quick to doubt, okay, maybe he'll get 20, 30 points on the year, but how exactly is he going to play in his own zone? We already know what Tyler Myers has been like the past few seasons, where he isn't really the best at defending the rush, but he can get points sometimes. How is Ekman-Larsson going to be? Well, to start off this conversation, let's go over the point log. He's got 2 points in 10 games played, a goal and 1 assist, which, that sucks. That's a really bad point production metric if you compare it to the previous seasons. He was at half a point a game the previous few seasons, but even though he is producing at a significantly lower rate than he has been before, there still are some other things to talk about. This right here is the J Fresh Hockey Post, talking about Ekman-Larsson and how exactly he has improved or gotten worse since last season. This is his wins above replacement number for the 2020-2021 campaign. In 46 games played, he was in the bottom 3% of NHL players in terms of his overall gameplay. Offensively, he was in the bottom 10% because he wouldn't really contribute to offense. Defensively, he was in the bottom 12% because the amount of chances other teams would have against the Arizona Coyotes when OEL was on the ice was a lot more than when the average NHL player would be on the ice instead. All these other metrics were negative as well, bottom percentile over here for OEL except for shooting. He was actually in the top 40-something percent, making him an above-average shooter at the NHL level. However, this, despite being very bad, has actually taken a very big increase. From the 46-game played sample of the 2020-2021 campaign, adding on the 10 games of this season, his overall production card has jumped up from a 3% wins above replacement metric player to a 16% player. Now sure, he's still in the bottom 16% of players in the league, but this sample that we're looking at includes the 46 games from last year. It's why JFresh says himself, this is undoubtedly what you want to see from Oliver Ekman-Larsson. Let's hope he keeps it up and proves me wrong. He says me because he's talking about the WAR number from last season being 3%. He has taken a significant increase in most of these categories, especially in the defensive zone. He was a bottom 12% player in the NHL last season in terms of defensive ability. Because of the offensive opportunities other teams would get when he was on the ice, he was a very poor analytical player. But this year, my goodness, he is all of a sudden above average, and that is with a skewed sample size where most of the games being calculated are from last year. To have a 44% change in even strength defensive responsibility just in 10 games is very, very drastic. And I get it, you can go out there and say, well, why doesn't he just publish the 10-game sample from this season? Well, he says right here that it would be kind of redundant to do that because it's too early for these results to stand on their own. But there also was this post here on the Canucks subreddit that I wanted to highlight as well. Here are the metrics in the NHL for a few terms, and you're going to have to really pay attention here. EVD, what is that? According to Evolving Hockey and their website, that is even strength defense goals above replacement. It also is inverted per position, which means that what you really want is to just be high up here because it means that the team is allowing fewer goals when you're on the ice. It's calculated from a standpoint of 50%, or you could say 0, because it determines the average or replacement based off of the aggregate rate below average of all skaters outside the top 13 forwards or 7 defensemen per team per season since 2007. So it's just have a high percentage on it, and Oliver Ekman-Larsson does. Take a look at this. He is first in the NHL in EVD, above Charlie McAvoy and Thomas Chabot, meaning that his defense has honestly been pretty good. Take a look at his expected EVD, which is the same metric, but expected, so not what actually happens, but what is calculated as what should have happened based off of quality and chances and all that stuff. Oliver Ekman-Larsson is behind just Moritz Seider, which is a pretty good defenseman. Playing for the Detroit Red Wings, he is also above Charlie McAvoy. Going over to the expected goals against per 60 metric, Ekman-Larsson is number 1. He has a lower expected goals against per 60. Negative means, okay, negative goals against per 60 minutes. That's a good thing if you have a negative number. He has the most negative number over McAvoy and Ryan McDonagh. And if you take a look at Corsi against per 60, he is second in the NHL, above Rasmus Sandin and behind Eric Chernak. Corsi against is measured using the Corsi metric, which is just shot attempts. So shots towards the goal that go wide, shots on goal, goals themselves, shots that hit the post, shots that get blocked, stuff like that. Shot attempts. And so Ekman-Larsson has been, oddly enough, one of the best defensemen in the entire NHL when it comes to just pure defensive shutdown ability. Now, is he $7.2 million good? Probably not. The 2 points in 10 games played certainly don't make that any better too, but just in general, when Jim Benning said that he feels like OEL has been somewhat of an upgrade on this team when he made the trade, I think he may be right. At least in the short term. So, if Ekman-Larsson and his overall defensive ability continues at this pace, it really makes this graph that JFresh posted a lot more believable when you understand that he had a 44% change in defensive even strength ability despite only having a 10-game sample size with the Canucks. His defensive metrics have been so good that he is amongst the top of the league in terms of shutting down opposition scoring chances. And that is honestly a lot more than I was expecting out of this guy. So, talk to me in the comments what do you think about Oliver Ekman-Larsson and how good he has been so far in the year. I hope you enjoyed this video, Trolls 99, and bye.